Hey, folks, and welcome again to the 8:30 Live. Not that much happened today, or if a lot did happen today, I was oblivious to it because I was volunteering for my good friend and a progressive champion up in the Bronx, Samalis Lopez, who's running for Congress for the seat which Congressman Serrano is vacating. Now, there's a lot of folks in that race, and people might have their various ideas. I know Richie Torres is in it, and he got the New York Times endorsement. Michael Blake is in it, and Melissa Mark Viverito is in it, even though she lives in Manhattan and represented the Upper West Side. Not the Upper West Side, sorry, Upper East Side, Spanish Harlem area. And most importantly, Council Member Ruben Diaz Sr. is in that race, and he is a bigot, and so he has to go down. But with all of these candidates in the race, it's not clear that he'll lose. So that is concerning, but still, I feel like I've got to be out there. I really encouraged Samalis to run when she was just thinking about it, and give her a bunch of money. Not like a ridiculous amount of money, but she was my first donation of this political cycle. And I did give her more than I've given most other people. One, because she's running for Congress, and it requires a lot more money to do so. And two, because I really want Samalis to win. She's really great. I know her pretty well. We've done organizing together, and I view her as both a grassroots person, basically incorruptible, and her heart is absolutely in the right place. She is not. Basically, everybody else in that race is a political person, not just a politician, but constantly angling for some political advantage, and then Samalis just isn't like that, which is why I really wanted to win. So I was doing that today, and that is why, if there was any big news, I totally missed it because I was phone banking, and then I had to do some work, and now I have to go do work after this because I put off work that I was supposed to do earlier to phone bank. The one thing that I can say that went down is that last night, William Barr announced that the Southern District federal prosecutor is resigning, to which the federal prosecutor, Jeff Berman, responded, "I did not know that. I have no plans to resign, and I will not be resigning until a nominee is approved by the Senate." So let's talk about that just for a second, right after Simon Sachs says, "Hi, Ben." Hello, Simon. Michael Kaplan says he's alive. I'm not alive. This is alive, but I live. And Julianne says, "I love Sam. I'm phone banking for her tomorrow." And I say, "Good on ya. Please do your best. Gambate," as they say in Japanese. Now, let's just cover this thing about the federal prosecutor, and then maybe it'll just be a short night because there's not that much to go over. And I'll bet people are watching Trump's rally, which is the other piece of news. But federal prosecutor first. So the federal prosecutor is a very, very important role. And the Southern tier prosecutor, the Southern District of New York, is one of the most important jurisdictions of federal court. Now, you might remember that Preet Bharara held that role, and that he was investigating both Andrew Cuomo and Bill de Blasio on counts of corruption until he was replaced by Donald Trump. And then both of those politicians got off easy. Well, William Barr has announced that the current Southern District prosecutor will be resigning, or has resigned, basically. And Jeff Berman, that prosecutor, said that he knew nothing about that. And as far as he's concerned, this position, which was left vacant by Donald Trump and can only be filled by an appointment of the president, which is ratified by the Senate, is his role until that happens, as he was appointed by the panel of judges in the district. So all of his work, he says, will continue. All of his investigations and prosecutions will continue. And this is, really not normal. Really, really not normal. And this comes right after revelation from John Bolton, who claims in his book that Donald Trump promised President Erdogan of Turkey that he would be filling the Southern District with his own people and asking them to lay off an investigation prosecution of Halkbank, which is a Turkish bank. We'll see how that goes, but Donald Trump looks like he's going to have a slightly more difficult time doing that, given that the Senate and all other politicians and the American people might have been alerted to simple, corrupt reason he has for moving quickly to replace the Southern District Attorney, and the fact that the current Southern District Attorney is not just going to bow out gracefully, as one might expect. Usually, because the president is the chief of the executive branch, usually if the president calls for the resignation of one of his subordinates, they just resign. So crazy times, folks, crazy times. And the last thing to sort of cover is just that Donald Trump has gone ahead with his meeting in Tulsa. Oh, there's actually one other thing. Donald Trump is going ahead with his meeting in Tulsa. The curfew that was put in place over the weekend had been lifted as of last night. So revelers awaiting the president, 100,000 strong, it seems, camping out on the street, have had the run of the city. Now, I don't know if folks are aware of this, but 100,000 people who put aside any risk to their lives and completely disregard science to camp on the street to await the appearance of their leader are freaking serious people. Like, they care a lot about who the president is. And small pockets of very, very dedicated people can be the difference between victory and failure in a presidential election. So we should all be very much interested in just how rabid Donald Trump's base is. Because if you think 100,000 people would camp out overnight to fill a stadium to watch Joe Biden speak, I think you might have something coming. So we should all make sure that we do our best to ensure that there are folks in Congress and in the Senate and in local government that we care about, and that we all do what we can to ensure that Joe Biden is the next president of the United States, because Donald Trump supporters absolutely will do that for him. So let's see what we got here. Some comments. What do you think of the Engel race? I'm seeing a lot of the TV ads spill into New Jersey. Jamal Bowman is, by all accounts, fantastic. And Eliot Engel is, by all accounts, not really that great. And had a major gaffe when he said on a hot mic that he wouldn't even be at an event which he was attending if it weren't for the protest, because he, quote, doesn't really care about it. So that's never a good look. And I do hear great things about Jamal Bowman. So I hope that Jamal Bowman wins. Simon Sachs, I think Berman was fired by Barr by recommendation to the president. Nadler will hold hearings. Schumer wants investigation. Well, was he fired by Barr? Barr said that he was resigning, and then he said he's not planning to resign. So I don't know if he was he actually fired by Barr in the end? Michael Kaplan, make Tom Petty, I Won't Back Down, your opening theme song. I do like that song. And it would be apropos, given the fact that I posted an article on Facebook today, and people lost their minds that it wasn't the highest quality news. Now, mind you, my caption for the article was I was tagging 3 specific people, 2 of which because the article I posted had to do with a TV show. But everybody had to come and be like, this is beneath you. This is like fake news, and it's just a bad, disreputable publication. Why would you share this? And I felt like I had made it clear why I shared it and precisely for whom and the reasons in the post. Yet everybody decided that I was contacted separately in a messenger conversation saying that I have a really high, I forget exactly what it was, like credibility or something. And so I shouldn't do these things. And I was just like, what the hell is Facebook? Anyway, I'm developing a new policy for posting on Facebook, but just so that if anybody has, if anybody wants to know how I view these things as it is, if it's on my personal account, it's like whatever I feel like posting. If I think it's trash, I'll usually put some context in there, but if it's on my personal account, I can do what I want there. Doesn't really matter that all my posts are public, but I'll consider making them not public and friends only if people have serious issue with it. If it's on my Twitter account, it's slightly more vetted, only because it takes me effort to take things that I find on Facebook and then put them over onto Twitter. So I'll usually have read it first and been like, oh, I should tweet this. If it's on my Ben Yee public politician Facebook page, then that is legit. Nothing goes on there that's not real. And then finally, if it's in an email, if it's in one of my blast emails, then that has been vetted, researched. That is the real deal. It is basically original reporting, or maybe not original reporting, but I've definitely gone through every fact-checking step. That is the hierarchy of Ben's digital communications. So, if you see stuff on Facebook and people being annoyed by it, please know that if it's on my personal Facebook, it's not that I don't care. It's that I think it's ridiculous that you're upset. All right. Julianne Ballington, it's so Watchmen right now. Have you been watching The Watchmen? I watched The Watchmen last night. I watched the first two episodes, and here's my my review of the first two episodes. I don't really understand why it's set in the Watchmen universe. Now, I hear it is a perfect tie-in by the end into the comic and just the comic. I heard it's a perfect tie-in. So I'm really looking forward to that because I really enjoyed Watchmen. But right now, I'm just sort of wondering, why is it set in the Watchmen universe? This could literally be anywhere, and there's nothing specific to Watchmen except for a few references to Dr. Manhattan. But otherwise, but Dr. Manhattan's on Mars, which they keep saying. So unless Dr. Manhattan actually shows up, I don't really see why it's got to be the Watchmen universe. I actually feel very similarly about She-Ra, which I've been watching. And my sense of there is if Skeletor's not in it, maybe Skeletor is in it later, but right now, there's no Skeletor, there's no He-Man, which is to say there's no Adam, which is Adora's, who is She-Ra's, Adora's twin brother. There's none of the other characters. It seems to be an entirely different plot. The planet, though it has the same name, doesn't seem to have anything similar about it to the original. I just don't see why it's set in the He-Man universe. Now, I never liked He-Man. I always thought it was I was never a He-Man person. But I just don't understand why they do these things. But hopefully all of these things will be made clear to me as I watch these shows. But, as shows in their own right so far, Watchmen is very good. And She-Ra is a little bit kiddie, although I understand that it's meant for a young age group. The biggest problem I have with She-Ra is that everybody seems to completely discard firmly held beliefs they had within a single episode. There's very little nuanced character growth. It's all very sudden. Adora, and no spoilers because it's the first episode, completely turns her back on all of her friends, the country where she was raised, and everything else, and starts actively fighting them, all within the span of one episode and a chance encounter that lasted maybe 24 hours. So I thought that was a bit odd. Anyway, whatever. It's a kid's show. But I hear it's supposed to be very nuanced. All right. Simon Sachs. On Saturday, Barr sent Berman a letter notifying him that President Trump had agreed to fire him, saying he had, quote, chosen public spectacle over public service. Interesting. Because you have declared that you have no intention of resigning, I've asked the president to remove you as of today, and he has done so, Barr wrote. So he has removed the prosecutor of the Southern District, which leaves the position vacant, although the judges, I guess, can appoint a new successor if the president doesn't fill the role in a certain time period, I suppose. Michael Kaplan. It wasn't 100,000 people camping out. Okay, fine. It was a bunch of people camping out. And whatever number it is, it's more than the number of people who will camp out for Joe Biden, I think. Michael Kaplan, Make Your Closing Theme Hurricane by Bob Dylan. I don't know that song. I mean, I'm sure I've heard it, but I'll have to go listen to it again. Julianne Ballantyne, it takes a while to get into it. Wait, Ben, just wait. Are you talking about The Watchmen? I'm not going to not watch Watchmen. I love the comic. I even loved the movie. Like, I'm going to watch Watchmen through. Michael Kaplan, this is the story of the hurricane. The man the authorities came to blame. Oh, yes, I do know that song. That song is great. Why would that be my closing theme song? But the story of Hurricane is a great story. Although I will say this, Watchmen has an amazing soundtrack, and one song that I might like to make my closing theme song, or maybe opening theme song, what really set the tone, is a song that was in the second episode of Watchmen called Ball of Confusion. If you're not familiar with Ball of Confusion, look it up. It's a great song. Julianne Ballantyne, did you read the comic? If you're talking about Watchmen, the answer is yes. Yes, I absolutely did. Now, the last thing to talk about tonight is Governor of Virginia, whatever his name is. Now I forget it because it's been so long since I looked at the thing. The governor of Virginia has decided to remove all Confederate statues from the Capitol. So that's nice. In any event, I've covered everything I want to cover. And it is a beautiful Saturday night. So I imagine people are truly enjoying themselves on the outside world. And honestly, we enter phase 2 on Monday in theory, which will enable folks to go dining outside literally dining outside. Like, as long as the dining is not in the restaurant and is in fact in the street, people will be able to do it. And so I imagine with our phase reopening, more and more people will be spending more and more time outside in the evenings. And that might include myself. So as fun as the lives have been, I'll let everybody know. As of right now, we're still on for our nightly, but we may have to move to a not every night situation because I may like to go outside and enjoy the summer, as it were. And 8:30 is a brilliant time to be out there in these long, long nights. Northam, Governor Northam. Thank you, Michael. Now, with that said, thanks everybody for tuning in tonight, and I'll see you all tomorrow at 8:30.